Hi, everybody, and welcome to another Kalicube Tuesdays. I'm Jason Barnard, and I'm here with Sara Taher. Is that the right way to say it?
That works.
Oh, it's not correct.
It's more like Taher.
Taher. A
Yeah.
quick hello, and we're good to go. Welcome to the show, Sara Taher.
Thank you for having me, Jason. Super excited to
Right,
be here
brilliant.
today.
And it's always better when I sing it. Um, Thank you so much for coming along. We're going to be talking about SEO strategy mastery, results-driven growth. And I think from an SEO perspective, a lot of the times we forget about results and we forget about business and we focus on the KPIs that we like as geeks and as super enthusiastic Googly and Bingy people. Is that a fair assessment?
Yep.
Brilliant. And before we do that, we always have the brand SERP. And here we have Sarah's, and she has a lovely knowledge panel. Author at Search Engine Land. And what we're seeing in the SEO industry is a lot of SEOs being tagged by Google as writers. And that's super interesting. Sarah, you don't have a subtitle, but I'm sure you will soon. And I can also see there in the images, Austin, our friend, Edsabor, which I can't actually say his name properly, who's another delightful SEO. And you have a picture of you, which looks like a 3D AI image down there. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's the one I use on my Twitter.
Right. Okay, brilliant. So how did you get the knowledge panel?
I actually read one of your articles.
Oh, right, brilliant. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, and so I added the schema. I did like made sure that whatever people like, if someone is using my work or to link back to me, got as much as possible valuable links linking to me, and yeah, that sort of thing.
right. So for a smart SEO, getting a knowledge panel is child's play.
I mean, you you need to do the work, right?
Yes.
And part of it is
100%.
yes, part of it is you need to be contributing to the industry,
Mm.
in writing, having some, maybe having some level of like social presence, that sort of thing. You need to do the work. It's not. It looks simple as a if, like as in steps, but there's a lot of effort in the background. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, 100%. I wasn't trying to trap you with that. It is
No, no, no,
actually a
no.
very simple three-step process. And as you
Yep.
say, if you do the work, it really is simple. But you need
Yep.
that consistency. You need to do the work. You need to be present, and you need to be. I've already said consistent, enthusiastic. We'll add to that. So enthusiastic, consistent, and do the work. And the schema markup definitely helps.
I mean, isn't that the case with all SEO, right? Any SEO work, you need to do the work, right?
Absolutely. And that's a wonderful segue. You should be the host on this because you've just
Oh
segued
no!
into SEO strategy. And the two things I love, and we're going to start with SEO is not a checklist. And I
Yep.
think for a lot of agencies in particular, a lot of people and a lot of companies, they're looking for a checklist. Now, why or how do you argue against that? How do you get people to understand it's not simply going through a list of things that you have to do?
Not everything is going to bring the same value to all
Mm,
businesses, right? For example, fixing broken links. If you have 5, 6 broken links on a website that has like 100K URLs, yeah, it's good to fix them, but that's not going to move the needle, right? Like,
mm,
but if you have thousands of broken links for any reason on a, on a the same website, that may be an issue. So it's not just going through a checklist and just core web vitals is such a like a interesting flashy term. People like, yeah,
yep.
literally, I have clients reach out to me. Hey Sarah, we're looking to do SEO and core web vitals. Like it's like it's so important that we have to mention it on its own. And it, it's I always tell people it's a very high effort task and very low impact most of the time, right? So it's not, while you do need to go through the checklist when you're doing your audit, but when it comes to execution, you need to prioritize what's actually going to bring the most value to the business.
Ooh, which leads me to the idea you have, I would assume, then a checklist, and then you go through it, and then you say which is going to be the most important. You move things around for the
Yep.
specific client for the value it's going to bring.
I mean, the way I do it is I go through the checklist, but I have like impact, effort, priority fields next to it.
Oh, I
So high
like that.
impact. Yeah,
Oh,
and
do you
it's
have numbers in them?
I used to have numbers, but then it complicates things because you need the formula and stuff. And I was like, okay, I did some research, consulted with few people, and the best thing I found is have t-shirt size, like small, medium, large, high impact or low impact or medium impact, and then the same with priority and the same with effort, right? And
Oh,
it
sorry,
simplifies
just
things.
to point out that my immediate thought was let's have a score from 1 to 10, make it really complicated. And you're right, let's bring it down to small, medium, large.
I thought the same way as you did, and actually that's how I learned about this in the beginning. Like the first time I saw this approach was with numbers, but then it just gets too complicated, and you want to communicate this to different people who are not technical, for example, or uh, like you don't want to get like spend 10 minutes trying to explain to a client how did you come up with this number and why does it make sense or make sense, or so yeah, less is more sometimes. Yeah.
Oh, right, right. I used to have a Google spreadsheet with my satisfaction with the clients. And I had too many clients at one point, which was really lovely. And I had happiness for me, money for me, and success for them. And then I would decide which clients I kept and which ones I didn't using my client happiness score.
I
That
like
was
that.
back in the day when I had too many clients and it was delightful and wonderful, and it's not the case so much anymore. And it was similar, but I used numbers, and I think now I could have simplified my whole life with small, medium, large.
Yeah, I guess. I
Wonderful.
mean,
So,
yeah.
oh, sorry.
No, no,
Go
no.
ahead.
I was just gonna say is that usually, even in any SEO process, it's good sometimes to step back and see if it can be simpler. You know, just yeah.
No, no, no. Sorry, I was saying, ooh, not to interrupt you,
No
but to say
worries. No,
yes,
no.
yes, yes, yes. Simple is great. Simple is difficult,
Yeah,
ironically,
yeah.
and it takes time to get down to simple. How do you manage that within an SEO project? When you start with something, you've got so much data, so many demands, so many opportunities, so many things you can do. How do you simplify?
Okay, I don't think I shared this before, but funny thing is that I spend a big portion on working on any task, just thinking how would I approach this task, not executing the task. Actually, I just think, okay, what's the
Oh,
best, easiest way that makes more sense and bring more like if it's not simple, I think there's something is wrong, and I try because it needs to be simple and make sense. And if it's too complicated, there's something is not right. And sometimes I feel okay, maybe it's complicated because I don't know what I'm doing exactly. I'm not joking.
mm,
Sometimes right. Like I had a client one time ask for competitor analysis, and they said a lot of stuff. They needed like some sort of report, and I started working on it. And halfway through it, I realized I have no idea what exactly they need. They mentioned tons of things, but what are they looking for, right? And you're doing all this work. So from that point, I learned that sometimes I need to sit back and imagine what's the right output and the easiest way to get there.
which is a brilliant point. And then do you also find that if it's too complicated for the client to understand, then it's probably not a good idea?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And and okay, I was just thinking about this example recently, CTR experiments.
Right.
You can I okay, to do a CTR experiment, you need a client that understands that it's an experiment, that it can fail. If you have a client that doesn't have this understanding, uh, maybe you shouldn't do CTR experiments, unfortunately, right?
No.
Which is such a great loss. So sometimes you need to choose or try to make to make sure that whatever you're talking about is clear and understandable. Uh, People don't like what they don't understand, right?
Mm.
Uh, eh, and I mean, if even in politics, I'm not don't want to diverge, but just a quick example. in some of the U.S. elections, there's always analysis why someone won, and then one of the reasons a specific person won is that he spoke at a grade 3 or grade 4 level language, so people understood what the message and whatever the message is, but they understood the message and they actually memorized it. They can easily quote him 4 or 5 times, right? Just because it was easy, not because it was the best.
Right, yeah, no, 100%. And I would bet my bottom dollar they also said or provided, what do you need to do now?
Yeah.
And that's something I forget a lot within Kalicube is I go, oh, look at this. It's really interesting. It's really brilliant. But I don't tell people what it means to their business, and I don't tell them what they need to do next. And so we come to the business aspect is you're talking about results driven. What kind of results are you suggesting or proposing to your clients?
Yeah, I mean, first, once you understand the business, and if it's an e-commerce, they're looking for conversions. If it's SaaS signups, sometimes they have other conversions like email signups or form fill-ups, like contact sales, like whatever their goal is. This is where you start to understand what's bottom of funnel for them and how to create your funnel, your content, and map it to the user journey, like awareness, consideration, and then conversions. And from there you can explain to the clients why this page is more valuable than the other, for example, right? If they're looking for more conversions, that's the way to go. If they want more traffic, then maybe more awareness content would be the right thing to do.
Right. Okay. And so if we say we have this result that we're looking for, we have a list of pages, we have a list of possible strategies, how do you map all that together to make the strategy that's going to work for your client?
Okay, I'll give you an example right now. So I have a client, they have specific set of terms, AI related terms they want to break into. So you have in SEO, we have 3 levers: content, technical, and link building. We're not doing link building for that client. So for the content, okay, so we're gonna create the tactic we're gonna use is we're gonna create obviously topic cluster and blogs around the keywords they're after. We're also going to build internal links, and then the second goal, they want to recover some of their traffic loss. Okay, then we're going to update, do a content audit, update existing content, remove anything that should be removed, and then you have, and then when it comes to technical, we check if there's any urgent issue that may get in the way. But other than that, I call this like site hygiene. There's things we need to do, but we do them because it's best practice, and yeah, it can have like a slight impact, but it's not like the most impactful thing. Like, and I create this in like a very small, simple table, right? Like goal, content bucket, what does it have in there? Technical, it's just site hygiene, and it goes for all the goals. And if we're doing link building, I would have a third bucket as well. For example, we would be targeting getting links for specific pages or specific anchor text and so on. And when we say create content, again, if their focus is conversions, I would also say, okay, start with bottom of funnel landing pages, right? And then work my way from there. If they're looking also for traffic, then I prioritize next would be awareness and consideration.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of SEO work is just let's create lots of content.
Yes.
And just throw it out there and hope. And that's a real pity. Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
That's what spray and pray is, right? And that's the checklist, right? Like that, just start creating blogs. If the client is looking for conversions, I always like to start and make sure that we have the bottom of funnel pages we need. One time I was working on an agency website and they didn't even have the bottom of funnel. Like even if we bring the people, there's no page for them to convert on the services, right? Some of this, like they can say, for example, social media management is a service. That's true, but then maybe you need TikTok management and then Instagram, and maybe you can just divide it even deeper, which will help you rank. And in the same time, when someone wants to convert to this specific service, they feel it actually matches what they were looking for, right? So yeah, with conversion specifically, I would work bottom of funnel. Again, with e-commerce clients, it's the same. I look for long tail keywords. I look in search consoles for long tail bottom of funnel keywords that they're getting impressions for, but they don't have a dedicated page for. And I also prioritize updating existing category pages, and then the top product pages in terms of profitability, for example, right? Especially if they have
Right.
like tons of products, you can update all of them, but let's pick the ones that are more meaningful.
Ooh. And when you say update category pages, what are the keys?
Okay, when I update the category page, first of all, it sounds simple, but sometimes the categories actually don't have the products they say they have.
Oh.
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes they, I don't know, it's maybe it's internal mistake or something, but
Yeah.
sometimes they don't have the products. You want to make sure they have the products in the category, at least the top ones, the first ones on the page have the right product
Mhm.
title. If you can add some text in there at the top, and I give the clients options, either edit small like a line and then you have like a expand all, like to see more, instead of having like a big chunk of text at the beginning, because you don't want that, but you
Mhm.
want text, or they can edit at the bottom. um, if you can add, even at the bottom, if you can add reviews, if you so I like look at a few things, and I think what can make this the best category page, right?
Yeah.
I get inspiration from Amazon. It's perfect, right? It has a lot of insights there, so yeah.
Right. Yeah. And as you say, the order of the information is hugely important. And the fact that we need to start convincing people that we're a credible solution for them immediately that they engage with us, whether it's on a category page or a product page, is hugely important. And Google appreciates it. And then you talk about matching SEO tactics with results.
Yeah,
How
I
do you
mean,
go about that? Because you've got these results and it's a conversion, and it's hugely difficult to say this tactic or strategy gave this result. Sorry.
yeah, I mean, okay, for content, it's much simpler. Like, for example, recently I suggested to a client we create conquesting pages, which is their brand versus other people's brand, right?
Right.
Because what was happening there is that people were searching for those comparisons and landing on the competitor's website. And obviously, the competitor owns the story there. And yeah, so once we created this, it's easy to like show increase of impressions and clicks right away. It was crazy,
Mm.
right? um, so that's very simple, but sometimes it's more complicated when we're talking about technical stuff, right? I always
Right.
try to figure out, okay, what I'm trying to fix. What is the number we're trying to fix? Is there a way to measure this? So if it's something with indexability, for example, will it increase the number of pages indexed, page speed or core web vitals? There's some matrix there. I try to find what is this gonna impact. And it's funny because if you try to do your best there, at least in the beginning, you gain trust.
Right.
Sometimes you can even do it via a small test, like, okay, how would I wanted to add links to the footer for one of my clients, and one of the places I worked at, and there was a lot of pushback, and I said, okay, this is a test. I was actually worried it might not work, so I was like, okay, it's a test. And then we added footer to the links, and I had the test URLs and I had other URLs to
Mhm.
compare to, and you can easily see, like, once you added this to the footer, literally on that day things started to increase. So um, you want to get then at least that trust in the beginning, because that would help you in two things: getting buy-in, like you build trust, you get buy-in easier and faster. And then the second thing, you can also push back based off that, because I worked with, for example, UX designers. You ask for something and they're like, oh, this is going to break user experience, and I'm like, I would be like, okay, tell me how this is going to break user experience. Give me a number. Like, what is user experience? It's not that fluid thing that we can, like, bounce rate
Yeah.
is going to increase. Like, what's going to happen? I need to so you can also push back, right? So yeah.
Yeah, no, and that gaining trust to be able to push back is hugely important. Do you generally go in and find something where you know you can succeed to gain trust?
So I definitely look for these. Sometimes they're obvious,
Mm.
sometimes they're not. Um, so to gain trust, there's a lot of things you can do, right? Show results. This is the best thing, but then also it's a small thing, but I notice it's very impactful. Make sure, even if you're in-house, your deliverables should be next to perfect, like the best thing. I even in-house, I put the logo, I put the like the font, the
Oh,
stuff,
wow.
because I've seen people, yeah, they were like really surprised, because if you show that you've put a lot of effort and thought into this, um and I also go to, like, if I have any meeting, anything, or if I recommend anything, I make sure I know how to explain it. I know how to justify. I have
Wow.
an example from maybe other website or a case study I read, or so. Like, be prepared and send those things. That way, it was surprising, like, because people would usually internally they would send it like. I'm trying to slow down. I speak too fast. Sorry.
Oh,
So
it's fine. It's
internally.
fine. I'm keeping up fine.
Okay, so because internally people sometimes would like just a spreadsheet with like few things, and you're, what's happening? So the cleaner, more organized, neat your work is, the more respect it will actually get.
Brilliant. And just for anybody who's listening to the audio only and that was too fast, you can always click on play at a slower speed, or you can come onto YouTube where you get the transcript, the captions, subtitles. We always put them on the episodes, whoever's on the show, because we know that it's helpful to a lot of watchers and listeners. So my next question, I was thinking about what you said about spending a lot of time thinking about what it is you're going to do and how you can do it most effectively and efficiently. And
Yeah.
what I, within Kalicube, tell people is take half an hour every day just to think about how you might do things better. And I think we often forget that being purely productive isn't necessarily productive, and that stopping and thinking and just looking at the wall can be productive. Would that make sense? Is that what you're talking about, or have I
Yeah,
taken you
I mean,
onto?
okay, I mean, like, sometimes you read really great content, right? But like, I came across a post on LinkedIn recommending to do like a steps to some process, and it's a really good thing, but I felt something is off, right?
Oh,
Something
right.
is off. Why is it off? I kept thinking about it, and then I realized this is the exact same process of something like, but much more complicated version. It's like literally like someone is asking you, where is your ear? And you say like here. Like,
Right.
that's what's happening, right? Instead of like it's here, it's like here. I always give this example. So yeah, so over time you'll get that sense, like, what, okay, some what is the end goal? And once you figure this out, you
Mhm.
realize I reached this place much simpler in the past. What's
Yeah.
happening, right? So yeah.
Right, yeah, and saying what's my end goal? I mean, in this case, it's business. It's driving conversions that make a difference to a business. You say, that's my goal. This is where I'm standing. This is the mess that's in between me and that goal. And if I just try to push through that mess, it's going to be a huge effort, and it's going to be slow, and it's going to be difficult, and I'm going to waste a lot of time and resources. But if I stand back and think about it, I'm away. Now, next question is the first conversation you have with a client, what are your business goals?
Yeah, definitely. Not specifically that question, but I like to listen to them. Like, they come in, they talk about their business. It's nice to see what excites them about it, what they care about.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes people are very, like, sometimes their business, you can tell it's their baby. Like, obviously everyone cares about their business, but sometimes small business owners, it's a lot for them. So I like to listen a lot. Then I start asking, okay, how do you,
Yeah.
like, what is a conversion for you? How do you measure it? Yeah, that sort of things. But I mean, it's always good to listen to, like, they come in, they sometimes people share their entire journey, their entire story, and then like, you need to be taking notes, because it's like all over the place. Like, you need to be able to
Yeah.
pick what's important to you, right? Because and what matters to them. Like, one time I sat on a meeting for a business that's doing a website redesign, and then they're sharing why they're doing this redesign, why. So you start to realize, okay, they're looking to have more clarity to their clients. It's not just like colors and stuff. So, okay, how can we have more pages, for example, that reflects that, right? And people always like it when you refer back to something they said. Okay, guys, you said this, I think this, right? Yeah.
No, well, 100%. No, that's brilliant. And I think a lot of us fail to listen and come in saying, this is how it's all done, I'm the expert and this is what happens, and we fail to listen. And then do you ask them the question, this just occurred to me and I've got no idea if it's sensible or not. Do you ask them, what do you expect from me?
What is success? Yeah, I ask what is success in this campaign. So it's a variation.
Oh, that's a better way of saying it.
No, it's not better. It's just the same. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I ask this when I start working with people, even if I'm taking on a new role, I always ask, what is success for you? What do you see? Okay, when you say, okay, I hired the right person, right? So and sometimes obviously it's about results, but sometimes it's also about communication, having you'll listen about issues they had with previous people they worked with, like previous SEOs and stuff. So you realize, okay, this mattered to them, this mattered to them. Having a long-term, so SEO takes time and they understand that. So to keep them engaged with you long enough to see the results, there are other things that matter as well.
Sorry, that's a great point. I'm sorry to interrupt, but what is success in this relationship for you? Part of it, especially when a client has had problems with agencies or SEO specialists in the past, or even digital marketing specialists, is part of the success is going to be that I trust you.
Yeah.
And we had that with Merci Facteur, who were a huge client for us. And it took quite a long time for me to build that trust up. But once Robin trusted me, that was a huge win for him. And I didn't ask the question. I only figured it out afterwards. So I'm a bit foolish. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I think it also unlocks. So if you ask these questions, sometimes people list so many things, you feel they don't have any realistic expectations. This is not going to work, right? yeah. Even if you're applying for a job, if you were talking to a client, if you just understand their vision and what they're looking for, it tells a lot if this is going to work for you or not.
Brilliant. No, absolutely. And that's huge. And we're kind of wrap it up with, understand your client, understand what they're looking for, understand what they're expecting from you, and figure out what the most efficient and effective strategy for them is going to be, where they will be satisfied with the work that you're doing, and build trust, get them on board, and spend a little bit of time thinking about what you do or you're going to do before you actually do it, and it will probably save you a lot of time. Thank you so much, Sarah. That was me summarizing what you said, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. It's taught me a few lessons. The last question is, how does SEO help with branded search, or vice versa?
Oh my God. SEO is very important for branded search. People think you'll automatically rank for your brand, not necessarily. Second thing is that a lot of the times there are so many other queries than just your brand name, like queries that include your brand name that other people are taking advantage of and leveraging and capturing this traffic, and you're missing out on. You need SEO to do research, find those opportunities, create content, either new pages or update existing pages with parts that would answer your users' questions. Some of these are like essential things, like where are your products made, who is the founder, is this trustworthy, and so on. So definitely you need to be there. Yeah.
That's an absolutely brilliant answer. I love it. But then that's the aim of the last question of the show. Thank you so much, Sarah. That was a great answer, great conversation, absolutely delightful. I love your knowledge panel, and I'm so happy that it was so easy for you. And I really think if people work properly on their knowledge panel, it is actually a pretty easy job to do. We're going to now introduce Chris Outlaw for next week, how to build a unified brand and why strategy first matters. I'm not quite sure how to say that, so I'm going to say it again. How to build a unified brand and why strategy first matters. Now it makes sense. I'm really looking forward to it now I've understood how to say the title. Could you pass the baton, Sarah?
Yeah, I have a baton here. I'm not sure if it's clear. Okay, so I'm passing this to Chris Outlaw. I'm so looking forward to listening what he has to say about that topic. It looks interesting, especially when he says strategy first. So yeah, I'll stay tuned.
Brilliant. Yeah, strategy first. That's what you say too. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you next week with Chris Outlaw. That was delightful. Thank you. Bye-bye. Kalicube. It's all about your brand SERP.